Let's talk about denials of treatment based on coverage. In other words, the insurance company like Anthem or Blue Shield or HealthNet or Aetna or any of the insurance companies essentially say that under the terms of your contract, this treatment, this medication is not covered. Now, in California, the plans have a lot of discretion over what they have to cover and what they don't have to cover, other than certain specific items like hospital care, like primary care physician treatment, and an enumerated list of procedures and types of medical visits. Insurance companies can do whatever they want to do in terms of not covering things. They have to cover basic healthcare services, which are the list I was referring to a minute ago under the California statute that talks about what they have to cover. But other than that, they can exclude whatever they want to exclude. And that's why you'll see a lot of times some health plans will cover certain medications but not others. And that's why many of you know that before you enroll or re-enroll in your health insurance company, you want to check to make sure that they cover your medications that you need and that your doctors, of course, again, are within the network of doctors that you can see with that type of insurance. But the point is that when insurance companies say that something's not covered, often they're wrong, because what happens is the insurance companies are a big bureaucracy and they develop medical policies and procedures that are designed to essentially make sure all of their employees follow the guidelines that they want to be followed. So they end up developing these policies and procedures that are almost like a checkbox, if you will, where in order to approve the treatment, the member has to establish, A, B, C, and D, but much more. And so what happens is these insurance companies have committees where their committee will look at medications or look at medical treatments and decide whether they want to cover it or not. And often the people that work on these guidelines at the insurance company are not doctors. Often they're nurses. And what they do is they will do some type of research and make a recommendation as to what the insurance company should cover and not cover. Let's say, for example, it's a new type of surgery for a spinal surgery. And without having necessarily any of the experts involved that actually perform these procedures and that are knowledgeable about them and sophisticated about them, they will essentially prepare a new guideline for the company saying, we don't think this should be covered, and here are the reasons why we don't think it should be covered. And then what happens is, once that's prepared, most of the insurance companies have a committee that meets quarterly or twice a year. And this committee is a committee not of employees of the insurance company, but what they do is they get consultants. They get doctors who usually have a connection to the insurance company, but the insurance companies want to say that we didn't make this decision ourselves. This is a decision that outside doctors made, because that gives them cover. That gives them some, ostensible insulation from liability, because in front of a jury they can say, we didn't make the decision, these outside doctors made the decision. But what really happens is, once the company has their policy that they want to adopt, they will present that policy in a meeting, say quarterly, like I mentioned, of doctors who have a contract with the insurance company, where what they do is they come to a meeting 4 times a year, and nowadays often it's on Zoom, and they review, and it could be 3 hours, it could be 5 hours, a list of, it could be 40, it could be 100 different proposed procedures. And so the insurance company will have one of their representatives, often a nurse, will present the new procedure to this company, and the company, the organization of doctors, independent doctors, are not specialists. So if it's a new procedure, let's say it relates to the spine, like a spinal surgery, you're going to have primary care physicians on the committee often, family doctors, dermatologists, cardiologists. It's going to be a random group of doctors from different specialties that will vote on whether to adopt or not adopt this policy. And often these policies are essentially just, rubber stamped or just simply approved because, again, they're not drafted by the specialists who are doing these procedures, and they're not voted on by the specialists that are doing these procedures. Now, some insurance companies do get the input of experts, and they'll present that to the committee, but the way that's done is not often in a very meaningful way. In other words, they might just send out a questionnaire to one hospital or one group. So what ends up happening is there are policies that are adopted that say that things are not covered because either they're experimental or investigational, when in fact they should be. And then, of course, when they try to get the procedures and their doctors order the procedures, the insurance company has a policy that says, we do not cover this procedure, period. So no matter how many appeals the member makes or their doctor makes, generally, they're not going to get this covered. And then when they see a lawyer, like me or one of my colleagues, and we file a lawsuit over it, when we get to trial ultimately, the insurance companies love to say, hey, this is not a policy that our company is responsible for. This is a policy that outside doctors voted on and approved for the company. And that's why during the litigation process, we dig deep to find out exactly who wrote the policy, the process for drafting it, the research behind it, the process for presenting it to the committee, what the committee did, how the committee did it, so that we can get behind what actually happened, so we can show the truth. Have a good day.